Blessings and welcome forward to Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life. I'm your host, Great Owl, and brother Ramon Singh. And today we find ourselves in the wonderful place that we love to do these videos here in Mandeville, Jamaica. And we're also, doing, some behind-the-scenes shots on Tree of Life television network as well too. And, trying to make the experience a little bit more interactive to the different platforms, because I guess that's what's becoming evident, Content creation, content generators. It's not just that we're doing this because of the faith, because the faith has started us on the path to use our influence in terms of the information or the way in which we can connect to it and help others to, even in their own minds, connect to that information. And so it is expanding that we have to become more technical and recognize the greater community around us and how that greater community affects us, right? And as such, as we're seeing this more become our experiences and respecting it, today's offering is going on both networks. And the next thing about it is that it came to us as we're on our way here. And I was saying road tripping on Share Life. But today we're going to talk about, the light of Christ within you. I mean, we're stating it that way because in Yeshua-centered perspectives, that is how the light has come onto us. And you had such a beautiful analogy of how you see the light and how you see what I call it rather, the presence of God within us. And so I'd let you, explain how you see the light, and then, I'll kind of move forward from there and kind of bring a contrast to what you're saying in terms of my experience as well too.
Yes, sir. Perfect love.
Perfect love, brother.
Yes, sir.
Love and blessings.
Perfect love, everybody.
Aye.
Yes, sir. Yeah, light.
Mm-hmm.
God was first of the things, the creator is light. Or must have the Father upon the throne, which is light,
Mm-hmm.
When him come down in New Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
there shall be no night.
Mm-hmm.
Because him are going to be the light for the city.
Ah.
So no night shall be there.
No night in Zion, there is no night there.
Yes, I.
Yes.
You see me? So him are light.
Yes.
So if you are deal with the Most High now,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
you are going to become light as well. Because Most High dwell within you.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
If Most High is light and him dwell within you, that means that you are going to become light as well.
Hmm.
You see me?
I can see it. I can feel it. And I believe that at one point you were saying of this wonderful story of what your uncle had illustrated one day by him having a candle. And I'm sure he's not the only person who probably did this to illustrate the situation, but he had a candle, and like he said, at his birthday party, he lit the candle of a few of his close family members, maybe his wife and his children, and then they lit the candle of maybe their children if they had any as well, and then their friends, and then their friends lit the candle of their family and their friends, and then the entire experience of each light, starting from the single, lighting all these candles, lit the environment in such a manner that all who possessed the light felt warmed, not just by the light that they had, but by the light they helped to spark and lit in someone else. And that's not the whole of it. You went on to say what is so awesome about it. Well, what I've come to feel from it also is awesome. And I was saying, well, you said that it doesn't take a whole lot from that which is lit, the lit candle, the lit soul, the light that is awake, to then spark in another individual that a light principle, that a lighting principle, that then they can now be lit by the light that you hold. that you are. And it doesn't take of you to be some superhuman, because you are not providing the mechanism by which they will stay lit. You're not providing the nature of what the light is. You yourself is the light because you've been lit. And so by the experiences you're having in the experience of these individuals, you are light their life. And so in that light now, the consciousness, the information, the awareness, that togetherness, as we would say, expands. And all of us can then be encompassed. Because it didn't go on an angular, triangulated momentum to just the elite or the expressed few. It went whole spectrum, and we're all warmed by the light. And so that was like one of the best analogy I heard in a long time. That it made this man thinking all of that. We realized that, wow, today we should really talk about the light. So the light, let's examine properties of the light so as to define the light. When we did a video back, I think the first time we were doing these videos in 2017, we had a discussion around light and darkness. And during the midst of it, the Lord came and said, there is no dark in him. At that time, I guess I had converged and condensed dark and light ideations into the actuality of what the cosmic light is. And the cosmic light obviously has no dark. The darkness comes as the absence of the cosmic light reverberates within the emptiness, right? And that emptiness is increased and intensified by the rejection of the light. So it would be that the further away you go away from the source of being, darkness ensues.
Yeah, man.
So darkness isn't an active principle that could be ascribed to the source. It's an inactive principle that is ascribed to lack of source,
Yeah,
or lack of sourcing.
Yes, sir.
So in such understanding, I've come to, or overstanding, I've come to recognize that, okay, so I can see what the Lord is saying, that there's no darkening. Because we're not talking about a magnetic dark, we're not talking about the dark of a skin pigmentation.
Or yin-yang.
Yeah, so we just want to make...
It's not a yin-yang.
Yeah, so we want to make that clear, because guess what? But I remember the year and people are saying, you got to be responsible with information. So when we become aware that there's certain things that maybe the way we were saying it, we ourselves, even though knowing we are firm in our understanding, didn't necessarily understand where others were coming from. So then I did a definition of these things on, the Trail Life channel and also on Instagram, which gave people a denoted dichotomy and a connoted dichotomy of what God is, right? And so if God is truly, as what we know God to be, eternal, right? Not transient, not metamorphic, but eternal. And eternal means that from all that was, is, and is. That means that there's no space in time that you can quantify. So why is it important to say that? Because quantification is quantos, it's a measure, right? It is where you get the qualities of attributes and properties. So it could not necessarily succinctly say, these are all the properties of God, or this is how God is. God is eternal. So definitions are based upon experience. And experience are had by human beings. So because experiences are had by human beings, we can connote and say, we're gods and we're these things. But where the actual ontological denotation of God is eternal. A living entity that cannot be measured, cannot be quantified. So there's no analysis or scale model that can be developed. So what models can be developed? Hypotheses. And where does these hypotheses come from? From us. So we're saying these things as we are differentiating the light from ideologies of light and shadow as polar. And that's what God took us out of. So this has nothing to do with no polarity of, oh, the yin, yang consciousness, the good, the bad, the indifferent. No. This is the light, the source of being that is not just electrotonal. It is electro-vibrational, electromagnetic.
Yeah, man.
You understand?
See, that's why you can't have hate in your being. You can't hate or have an enemy.
Sorry.
It's not possible and you to be light as well.
Exactly.
Because if you are a light being, how can you have hate? Because remember, God is love,
Absolutely.
And in order to have light, you need love.
Yes. Yes.
But hate are gonna bring you to darkness.
Density
Yeah,
is pulling away from the light itself.
yeah. Alright. A city
Mm-hmm.
on a hilltop
Mm-hmm.
cannot be hid. A
Yes.
light on a
Sheshe.
hilltop
Yes.
cannot be hid.
Yes.
You see me? We are lights on hilltop from your deal with Christ.
Yes.
Lights on hilltop. And what the Most High saw for do? We must go into the darkness.
Absolutely. And that
As
is
light beings,
yes.
the Most High send you into the darkness now.
Yes.
For spread the light. For give light unto the darkness. Them can't see nothing. Them blind. Them
Because
can't see.
because the light dwelt amongst the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not.
Yes,
So it's not that light lacked any kind of ability to express itself. It didn't lack explicability. It lacked nothing. But darkness, because of the, I would say, the intent to be insular. And so to insulate oneself and to shy away from the light, which is an openness. So here we are moving past the electrotonal and the photogenic based ideation to show you it is a movement of frequency as well, because darkness is likened unto the insular characters within the dark secrets of society and the societal consciousness. You have that darkness, and yet light comes from the sociability, the open, yeah, the common, and within the common, which is the free enterprise, not the superstructure of the insulated, which is the high walls and fences of ignorance built around and maintained with force. Darkness forces the individual to go insular, to become separate, separated from that lightness, that openness, because that is what it asks of you for experience in its presence. You have to be open because it doesn't pervade into what we call that darkness. So when we become lights, the very nature of our energy, our aura, our thoughts, it goes into the insular nature of individuals. So maybe sometimes psychologically I might leave this to people when they're speaking to me directly to talk in such a manner. Sometimes I don't put it here, but sometimes I know because of the insular nature of man and the nature of how the light is when we are told to go and bring others to the kingdom of light and take them from the kingdom of darkness, that it is ignorance that has brought them there. But when we do this, I've come to understand that a lot of times people feel sometimes frustrated in the fact that what we're saying resonates so much, and people is like, let's wait for them to fall on their faces, right? Because they do not understand. They think this is some kind of a, here we're gonna say it, light and dark metamorphose. Like, you know, we got some, you know, it's a war and it's all about a war, and you know, it's like overcoming, and you know, light will win, but you know, we're gonna see the dark side of them, we're gonna see the falling of them, we're gonna see the evil of them. But yet still, it's not about a light and a dark in that context. They're still in an ignorance. What it is that the transformation, the transmutation, that a state that seems impossible becomes that you are so close-minded, you are so hidden, and then you listen to some stuff on Seala media and it cracked that dark, blocked up cranium that would not listen to anyone, and you were shocked that these two characters, as you see us, waiting for us to fall on our face. And I don't know what is so special about falling on your face, because your face is not your feet. So if you fall on it, get your ass up. Why? Because people are shocked to experience that. The light does permeate even into the darkness. And so that darkness is truly maintained by the closed-mindedness. And so it is not a light as in a literal light being shone. It is a fact that love asks of them to come out of the jealousy, the hatred, hallelujah, the confusion, the misunderstandings of perception, and trust the light. This is how babies are born, because people had to trust to become one again, to become three. So that is not going to be easily understood. if you're insular and dark and in that secret mindedness where you conjure up these dark philosophies and theories of how to maintain and preserve the life on this plane going forward, when you're not the progenitor of the life on the plane, you're not even the creator of the life on the plane. Hey, so how is it then that such darkness? So this is where I think now the light has become an issue within the philosophical, because they're saying light is an equanimous with dark. They don't get it. They still think it's like, oh, we're in this duality that holds the ethereal and the physical together. But when you go into meta and what physics is, there's no physical, it's all energy, right? So if it's all, are we being offensive? If it's all energy, and all energies come from the source of it, the light of it all, then a lot of what is perceived darkness is really ignorance, misunderstanding, and also a promoted malevolence, or a promoted deliberate misunderstanding. And these are what we call enculturalization through secret societies, groups which are invested in a certain way of life and to achieve it by any means. And people look at these beings as being illuminated because they advance hypothesis that we are trying to save the planet. But all they're doing is creating a framework where insularity can become the polarity of experience. So now people say, yo, I'm not curious upon, you know. I'm me this. I am A, B, C, D, F, R, S, Q, P, L, M, G, Q, L, B, blah, blah, blah. Right? And stick you if you don't like it. And so the darkness expands because all those lights with the capacity to stay lit are being put out. And so if they're being put out, and I would say voluntarily put out, we're into some issues. We're into some serious issues. Yes, brother, so as we approach the magnanimity of the light, beyond just the optical, yeah, and the photogenic based view of what light is, the photon sensory, or the electrotonal, right, to our electromagnetic, where it is more than to be perceived with sight and to be experienced as the idea of a clairvoyance or a clarity, of which some societies will speak about, like the light is a clarity of thought, right? It is more than that, right? So we just want to make it clear that it is electromagnetic. That means that it pulls upon the electrons, the neurons, the mesos, and the bosons. It pulls upon particle and particle. It pulls upon the fundamental structures within the phages, within the very essence of the microbial aura. It is vibrational. It is electromagnetic. It is the light of being. It permeates every frequency. So why are we saying it that way? We're saying it this way because we want you to get it. It is not a philosophical tangent with dichotomies in attributes to measure wavelength and frequency, microns, you understand me? Or to measure the vectors and the radians. Because we understand that. It is more. It is more. Those are attributes, things that we can quantify, the quantities by a measure. The light of which we speak is not the light of which eyes alone. That's why back in the days they would say those who see him go blind. Because they didn't understand it. They think, oh, you're going to see God, you're going to be blind. It's like you're thinking that the very optic nerves and perception can behold what the Most High is, when the very nature of the vibrating aura is white. That's why it says clean is what comes in. Filthy goes away. Not because filthy isn't love, but filthy cannot be in the hallelujah, the presence. So that is why the dark never comprehend the light.
True.
It insulated itself and created a self-identity and forgot to see Yahuwah.
Yeah, man. I like how you said that. Cause I remember, you know, like a couple years ago, like 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
my mind and state of mind and thinking,
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a light being. It's a star seed. You know?
Yes.
We are the children that have light.
Yes.
Is it the new generation of light children?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
Cause you know our spirit sides and them thing there, you know? And a light may have deal with
Yes.
a couple years ago, that the new age thinking, you know.
Yes. Yes.
But them time them don't know say a new age that name.
Yeah. The psychology and the
All
philosophy
me know
of
say me a
light.
research.
Yes.
Me a find out things.
Yes.
And I say, yeah, we are light beings. We are stardust.
Yes.
Star seed.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The golden children of
Yes.
this generation. You
Yes.
know?
The indigo children.
Ah, the indigo. Yeah.
Sharu Sharu.
Yeah, man. So, at there some my state of mind in there.
Horuchikure.
And me the evil start research about the lodge and the Illuminati. Even Illuminati,
Mm-hmm. Illuminated ones.
the illuminated ones.
Yes.
And them say Lucifer
Is the Lord of Light.
is light.
Yes. The brightest
And
morning
them
star.
worship the light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because in a for them thinking, you know, they must say Lucifer is the true God.
Mm-hmm.
And that our God now,
Yes,
which is Christ.
Is the one that kept us in darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the essential narrative of the kingdom of darkness is that they would say they are the kingdom of light and we are the kingdom of darkness, because you know
Yeah.
it's always reverse polarity in the
Yeah.
opposite. So, and that's why people would accuse us and say things, because if you're in them, we are going to be the enemy, and vice versa. But we promote love and understanding. That's why we bring clarity, not false information. So in the kingdom of darkness, they say of us that our creator is an evil forbearer
Mhm.
who has kept us in darkness.
Yeah.
And Arimetheus and his brother Prometheus, through their generosity of spirit and the wisdom of their father, saw that man could survive with the light of wisdom or consciousness to help him in his experience. And in all things, I think we first think a great benefit has been done to us. But as we spoke of the photogenic and the electrotonal view of light, it is that we can see the light that was brought. And that light is the external light that lights cities, lights towns, but darkens the inner being. The soot of that light burns in the inner soul. But rather, when you look at the humble creation of the Most High God in the natural nature of being, and you look with an eye of ignorance, you see that which is darkened on the outside, where the soot burns off on the outside. And you do not see that the light that produced this soot, this melanocyte, this soot of being, this carbonation, that light burns within.
True.
So we are the light within. But when the ignorance was to look and see and think that what was outside the soot of being, the byproduct was the actuality of the source. This is where the confusion is, because all that has done is taught man to externalize the photogens. What my eyes behold it, my eyes survey it, I perceive it. And so that's the range of their light.
Yeah.
But the light of eternity, which is not measurable in the orchard of being, it expands continuously. It's not quantifiable. It's far different thing.
I remember, my new age mentality. We used to see the sun and say, well, I absorb some energy I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a light being, so I charge up
Yes.
and use my crystal them and charge up my crystal them.
Mm-hmm. Seala.
Everything I light me I deal with.
Mm-hmm. Understood, man.
So we are say we now get it twisted with new age teaching. Mosai teaching we are deal with.
Hallelujah.
Mosai is light.
Exactly.
Not no Lucifer is light.
Yes. Not forms of light. The very nature and source of light, what light is,
Yes,
in
sir.
all of its possibilities of which we cannot quantify. So our electrotonal photogen-based quantification of duality is not enough, right? That's the electrostatic properties and the electrically charged properties in the apoptos and the perception of the siren. We are far beyond that. Perceptive nature of man's understanding of divine attributes, we're past that. God is not the light that we measure and quantify. And I even mean the light of thought we're talking about. Beyond that. Beyond that. Because this light is beyond experience. It cannot be quantified. Right? And we move from just the electrical to the electromagnetic. So it cannot only be seen. It has to be experienced. Are you being experienced? There's a light within you. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Being experienced.
I forgot recap now and say, how can I become light?
Mm-hmm. Well,
I got you.
Well, the becoming of the light is already suggests that you're not light. So it is those who are in darkness say, as Source said, that they want to become light. You're already light. We're saying, how do you keep a light?
Yes, sir.
That is a verb, it's an activity.
True.
It's not a noun. That's what eternal means. It's continuous. So how do you keep a light and not go out? Because when you go out, the darkness comes. It expands with your ignorance. So how do people decide not to stay in darkness? It's deciding that they want to experience the spark of life. So in their perception, it would, and I'm paraphrasing because minutes fast, but in a lot of your perception, it's a big bang. It is a spark of divine. When I had the big bang view, I quantified it in the duality. I said every explosion is first an implosion. So somewhat the dualistic implosion that explodes the atom from its quarks and bosons to create the spectral. And so because some people perceive it as such, that view of light, has to be balanced, right, with some darker potos. So when they're in the darker potos, the darkness, it is almost let's call it a fantasy, an enchantment to either provoke or somehow be stimulated or stimulate the other. Because it's the only way to quantify and to truly experience your being. So if they're in the darker portals, they're going to want to know what the light is. They want to know what the heck is that. Why are those people going around like that? So some of them use light beings as energy source, brother. So we have to be careful when we talk about these things, because people have been hurt by these apoptosis, sucking their energy like batteries and being charging off of them. So we want to sympathize deeply with people who have such high generation of the light frequency that you're targeted. Have faith and know that the kingdom of heaven will protect you against these, what we call bridge of current in Jamaica, these theft of your vibrational field. But those who are in the darker portals, there is sometimes a provocation, a desire, a stimulation to spark interest in the other because it gives them the sense of self. And sometimes the spark catches on, catches fire. And they're being a light and the candlestick of self. The seventh candlestick is lit. And when it is lit, they become awake. True. So sometimes I would say I couldn't give a straight way to it. I think sometimes it's a downright provocation. Because I came to light when I told my story. Not because I was just seeking, like, I provoked darkness. I was looking revenge. I was seeking to satisfy the need to hurt those who had hurt me metaphysically. Caro chingre. So it's because I beckoned into darkness. That light, the true nature, sparked this awareness. Hallelujah. It's self-awareness. The kingdom of heaven is within.
Yes, sir. True.
Bless you. It's a beauty, man. It's a true beauty that when people realize, as you say, the light is already inside, brother. And it doesn't take a great effort to share the light.
Yeah, man.
So when you said that to me, it struck me. And I said, yes, I needed, hallelujah, to hear this, because sometimes I'm into the efforts of, we got to get all this together to do these videos. And then I remember, oh, that's like my one going off. Oh, beautiful. I remember when I was starting it, that wasn't the interest. The interest was just to get the information. Oh, it didn't matter if it was this one, that one. It didn't matter how it was edited or not. And then I started became about just doing it at this level or that level. Because now the attributes of perceptions started coming in. But you reminded me, it's not that much. And as I'm saying to the people, it's to keep a light. That is your personal process of being. Keeping a light is all it takes. And then from being a light, you're not the supreme light. Because the supreme light lit us.
Yeah, man.
And the brotherly, sisterly sharing of this light is what's keeping us going. So the wick is inside of us. The fuel, the mechanism to keep us lit is there. We just have to spark it, and it's sparked from the environment, and the environment of being as well too.
I would want to draw back on a verse here. Man shall not live by bread alone,
But by
every word
that
cometh
proceeded
from the mouth of the
God.
Father.
Yes, yes. Hey,
You see me?
yes.
So, in order to charge up with light now, we need the spiritual food now. So that's why the Bible coming into play.
See.
It's not just a book with words and stories. It's a source of light.
Exactly.
Because of the Most High words in that.
It's the greatest divine Taj Mahal. Hey, because
So
it
you
is
read
alive.
it, alright. Remember the thing with the Chinaman write bare things on the buckle, like hate and fear and bare negative things on the buckle, and
Yes.
he freeze it,
Yes,
and it come out distorted when they put it to the microscope.
yes,
But when you put love,
Yes.
peace, happiness,
yes,
I love you,
Yes.
I love you, buckle and water, you
yes,
know?
yes.
The buckle form out in some beautiful shapes.
Yes, the water experiments, yeah. In terms of, we're talking about the structure now, we'll go back to the 432.
So, may I show you
Yes.
the words
Yes,
that we put into our water body.
yes,
We're full of water, you know?
Yes, the magnetic, yeah.
Yeah, the words
And the
we put
electrical,
in,
yes, yes,
it shape we.
yes,
It affect how much darkness or light or energy we have.
how we're transmuting the energy into darkness or light.
Yeah.
Because the darkness then is when it's transmuted in the wrong way. It's like you're taking all of that beauty that should be shared. It's like you have a light. Where you go to? So let it shine. You can't hide it under a bushel. You have to let it shine.
Yeah, man.
But then some people take it and make it insular and say, I'm going to share the light with my friends. And then you become secretive, combative and protective. And then that in itself creates darkness. Because that shroud that goes over it doesn't bring the peace that you desire to feel comfortable. So then when you share it now and welcome others into your space, we'll call it transparency. And that transparency suggests it's a light body. It's a way to be perceptive without an opaqueness or a density. So then a next wavelength of magnitude to describe darkness is a density of spirit, right?
Yeah.
And that density of spirit is an arrogance, an ignorance, a hatred. And then when it's at its highest level, we call it an evil. So why would we call it an evil? Because it is personified. It becomes alive. And it then replicates itself. So that is why then there's a persistence of darkness. That's why they say when the pervader of darkness is bound once and for all, then the darkness say that is about will be also arrested. So because that darkness becomes personified and alive within these insular entities, it becomes regenerate and it procreates and it self-replicates is the right term I'm looking for. I'm looking into the genetic term. It self-replicates onto its destructive nature. And so then from a genetic, psychological, psychomorphic state, into a cultural, political, social ideology and philosophy, religion, ways of culture, perception, behavior. And these things through perpetuation is where the kingdom of darkness has brought its forces against the kingdom of light, which is the free enterprise to be out in the park and not having to go through the power of what a paper, because a paper in some cases has more power than the actual nature itself. So nature has created this spot and they will say, okay, you need authority from the locals, this, from the private, this, from the, to enter this space, when who gave the first person that claimed ownership authority, right? Did our creator give them a title and appropriate them the right to create a title, to use paper or a pen, to have more power than the actual organic reality? Where you can stop people from going to a place to eat, where the trees will feed them, to force them to take a microchip, to go into your supermarkets to feed, and if to be fed rather, and if they refuse, you close them out of a society, expropriate the best quality lands, and then cultivate that land in genetically modified organisms and genetically modified plants, and make that a threat to the natural environment, so people cannot have these farms and then be able to feed naturally and to be fed naturally, because all things is activated under an insular principle that it needs this fertilizer, it needs this activator to even make these things work. Is that not darkness? When light is to make a seed fall from the side of your mouth, from the anus of a bird, you understand me? From the spittle matter of your mouth, right? And it will form into a, it will grow rather into a plant. It will fall into the soil, into terra firma. It will be loved by the light of being, and it will grow. It doesn't need activator, fertilizer under a genetic and a chemical, alchemical code, that if you should spray it here, it kills everything organic. But is it supposed to grow food? Isn't that darkness? So when we act as if we do not know what darkness is in its actuality, so absolutely the light, brother. When the light is fully understood, we're not confused with the duality complex. If you're light, you will be radiantly filled with love, right? And search beyond the ignorance of hatred, jealousy, and selfishness. Because in the experience of love is where the highest magnetic frequency is being present, is where you're getting into the very quarks and boson of the experience. It is not an ideation that is external. It's like the writing on the bottle that can resonate still a frequency. You understand? Even though it's written, because it is a touch of the electromagnetic pulse of your hands, right? That creates this connection. The light of our being, the true radiance through Yeshua, has brought us in synchronicity with the divine aura, which is eternal. That means that transformation is possible. Because if you were not a lit before, you can become a lit. You can spark your own interest towards understanding that there is depth to this, deeper than thoughts or feelings. You can harmonize thoughts and feelings and create the electromagnetic experience, or connect to it rather, because it's there. You don't have to create it, you're connecting to it. But you might create means of expressing it, right? Or create means of understanding its expression. And so these things is where the mind grows, the spirit advances, and then light can function in our society, and darkness don't take over with uncaring social structures, uncaring civil servants, uncaring members of church and clergy, uncaring members of the family. So darkness spreading and light getting smaller. Candles all having their wicks out, not being lit. And in some cases, those who claim that they have the light having a shade around the light, right? A lamp shade or a light shade, so they don't want others to be lit from their light.
Ah, yeah, man.
So,
I like how you said that. It is like having a beautiful garden and you put up tall walls around it. So everybody who pass by, they can't see this beautiful garden.
They can't share in the
Then
experience.
could have put up a fence that they could see through.
Yes, sorry.
So everybody who pass by can enjoy this beautiful garden.
Exactly.
But there's no need for a tall wall that they can't see behind. You know?
Insulation, isolation.
Yeah, you can't hold back your light. If the Most High bless you and not even if, the Most High bless you with light.
Yes.
From your day with Most High and
Yes.
live in a righteousness.
Yes. Hallelujah.
And live with love.
The light is.
No hate, no
Yes.
inner you, none at
The
all.
light is.
Most High live
Shit.
in you.
Yes.
You have to just make the Most High do him thing.
Yes.
The Most High want to express himself.
Yes. Yes.
The Most High want to spread him light. And it don't make sense. I try to put up walls. I try to block him from spreading light.
That is counterproductive.
Yes, I.
And that's why the darkness grows, ignorance persists, and people suffer from a lack of just a simple acknowledgement and concentration of not letting the light, the love of Yeshua, the love of truth, the love of our source into our hearts.
Because fear.
Yes. Which is darkness.
Fear, you know?
Which is
What
darkness.
people are going to think of me.
Mm-hmm.
If we really say this on Instagram, what people are going to think of me. You know?
True.
I am so afraid to say these things.
Yes.
No. You can't afraid to talk about the Creator.
Absolutely not.
Remember, there's a Bible verse, you know?
Yes.
If you don't tell somebody about Christ,
Yes.
how can they know about him?
True. True.
Them not seek him, them not know about him, them not care about that.
That's sharing the light again, right there,
And
brother.
because you know a knowledge
Sorry.
and the love in your heart now, the light in your being,
Yes.
you can control that love and light because it have to spread. And
Yes.
you see your friend in a darkness.
Mm-hmm.
The love what in your heart can't allow you to leave your friend in depression and doubt and fear.
Yeah, that will make no
You have to
sense.
spread your light what the Most High bless you with now and share it with them and take them out of
Hallelujah.
that doubt, fear and darkness.
Absolutely.
And show them that the Creator is real.
Absolutely, brother.
Share them the good news.
Absolutely.
Tell them a good news. Not living on a depression and bad news every day.
Which is
Just
like
tell
misery
them
loving
The
company.
good news of how the
Yeah.
Creator know about them.
Yes.
The Creator love them.
Yes.
Like the Creator see we as him children.
Absolutely. 'Cause
People
we
don't
are.
know that, you know.
Yes.
People just think, say, boy, if God exists, I don't think him know about me. You know?
Yes, it's again, it's an insulation again, isolation, like a darkness, a self-doubt. Like the same premise I was saying to quantify what you were saying in a statement. Misery loves company, and people love to talk about that because it's a fact that sometimes people will want to find congregation around that which suffers the spirit of being versus that which enhances the presence and the knowing in the spirit of being and the experience. As I say, are you being experienced in the light? So sometimes I think they tell us, because I don't think we like darkness, I think they tell us that darkness draws greater attention because they have got us to be fear-mongering. And if you got people to be fear-mongering, it's obviously that the fearful things will draw attention. And for a while we're all like susceptible to a degree unless we then allow the light. And that's what has caused me to a light and to keep it burning, to keep the lamp oiled and to keep the wick tended and lit. And there's nothing wrong if the light has to be tended to, because that's the only way it's going to be maintained. You don't want to be like the 5 foolish virgins, so you got to, tend to the lamp and tend to your light. And so this will enhance the experience. And then so now people would say, okay, we got a little bit more of understanding and some more stuff to go study. So before you get all swell in the head, we're going to take it back to what he said before, that he didn't say, but I expressed of what he said off air. And that is the candle, the light that you are, the only real requirement is to keep your light going, to be attractive to alight someone else's candle.
Yeah.
That's
Literally, if the light a burn and you put a next candle and the wick right over it,
Or even close to it.
it a go light the other candle,
Yes.
But it not take no energy from the first candle. Other
Sarutongora.
candle just a go light,
Sheshe.
just because it go close to that light.
Sheshe.
So I see them now,
Hallelujah.
you use that other candle
Hallelujah.
that was lit now. And it go
Hallelujah.
next to a next wick that was
Hallelujah.
out.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Light it up.
Exactly.
Remember say if the
Hallelujah.
candle catch near to a house, a wooden house,
Hallelujah.
the whole of the house burn down.
Yes.
Just the power of the little light.
Sheshe.
Just a little piece of flame.
Yes.
If that catch a curtain,
Yes.
I hit that for your house.
Electromagnetic, it's alive. It's a living fire, a
Yeah.
living light. That this is not I would say atomic. This is the celestial fire, right? And it don't burn with a fallout and radiation and give you the sickness. It burns with the celestial fire, and the soot is the carbonation. You see it here? When you can beat the celestial fire, then we can talk. Then we can talk. Because this fire is a light beyond comprehension. You know? So, brothers and sisters, in the loving nature of what the light has taught us, the free enterprise, sharing our word, don't be caught up in your fears. You won't understand us because you won't be happy. You have to be happy to get us because we're not sacrificing ourselves like you think meat in the market. The sacrifice is to be light. Hallelujah. We have to be light. So imploring our fellow brothers and sisters to spark the attraction to a light. For those who are going out, to draw close to those who have the light. So you can spark back your own light, and there's no leaning in the light because you have your fuel and the source by which to maintain your light. And so as you have the fuel and the source by which to maintain your light, in the simplicity of your life, your light will stay a light and be able to spark the light, and it may be the life in others. Brother Ramon.
Yeah, man. Perfect love, man.
Majestic.
Perfect love.
Perfect love, brothers and sisters. Until next time. Light. A light in love. Right.